there's a lot of people who are putting a lot of time and effort into this review, and there's a reason behind it. Like I've described my story, but last night there was quite an emotional story about an Inco tragedy, and the widow still fighting today for justice. People are angry when such tragedies happen, and you wonder, what are going to be the results? Is there something going to be done for that loss? An injury, a fatality, affects us all, and it's for life.
You gave a very emotional presentation today. Can you tell me a bit about what happened to your father 14 years ago?
Well, he was mine superintendent. He was at one of the smaller mines up north behind Goganda. The exact location I can't tell you, but he was struck by a scoop underground when he was doing his rounds, and they were inspecting, getting ready to drill a face, and they were moving some waste from a Nor remuck. And the operator didn't see him, and he thought he was in the right position and whatnot, and he was struck. And the end result of that was quite interesting, because they didn't have so much of a, how would I state that, an emergency plan put into place. Like there was a lot of fog, the helicopter couldn't land, they had to go by land ambulance. They made it out to the watershed, then, we go into Timmins, we're going to Sudbury. By that time I was on the phone, I wanted him in Sudbury. He came, by the time he arrived, he had almost bled out. There's a long story, and a lot of work that was put in by the ambulance attendants at the time, and by the time we got to the hospital, at the time it was St. Joe's Hospital, we were there when he came out, and he was still conscious, but at the time he was sent to Laurentian Hospital and had to be evaluated, and we had two orthopedic surgeons assess the situation, and it was decided at that time he'd be better to have his leg amputated. It was hard, it was emotion for all of us, and when you see such a tragic accident, especially a family member, it affects you for life, and you carry that forever.
There's a lot of barriers to educating. That's where I would like to see it go back to the late 70s, the early 80s, where the education was driven into you. This not on what you're using as equipment, but also your environment, and even your sleep and eating habits was driven, daily into you, where it became second nature. And that's where I would like to see us go back with the new, younger generation that's coming in. Right now, that's one of our mines, nickel rim. We're not too worried about that part right now, because that generation is, I think the average age is 52 years old. Most of the guys there have got lots of whiskers. It's over at our other site, Fraser, where there is lots of young guys. And you are hiring young guys coming in. So we have to look out for these people.